Hello everyone, and welcome to another Linux tutorial. Today we will talk about the disk management in Linux. And this is the part 1, because this is a really important section for Linux distributions, for your interviews if you want a job as a system engineer, and also for your home system. So, partitions. What are partitions? Disks can be divided into parts called partitions. Partitions allow you to separate data, and they also protect the system because you can, as you can imagine, if you have all of your files in a partition, all of your Linux kernel files in a partition called, for example, Linux kernel, and then you have another partition for your applications, another partition for your photos, and something goes wrong in the partition of the applications, that doesn't affect the system at all. The system can boot normally and everything is okay because the problem is on another partition. And of course, if someone can access the partition, maybe the other partition is better secured, and even if they can access something on your system, they don't have full control of your system, or they can't do big damage. For example, partition SIMs that many people use is one partition for the operating system, one partition for the applications, one partition for the user, and one partition for swap space, or one partition for the operational system, the OS, and another partition for the user home directories. This is really up to you guys. If you are the administrator, then you will choose how to divide your disks. Now, if you open up your terminal, you can use the commands df and then the H for human readable form. This reports the file system disk space usage. As you can see here, we have a partition, the partition /dev SDA1, and the available space that we have to use is 38 gigabyte. So it means that I can create some partitions, and I will split this 38 gigabytes into 4 pieces, for example. Now, the MBR. What's the MBR? This is the master boot record, and this is an old way to create partitions. One can only address 2 terabytes of disk space. It has 4 primary partitions, and everyone that want to create some logical partitions, this is be done using the extended partitions. The GPT, the GUID partition table, has replaced the MBR and is a part of the UEFI. The UEFI is the new BIOS. Every new motherboard has the UEFI instead of the BIOS of the old BIOS. The UEFI is, if you can remember, the BIOS is a blue screen, and you just type in this blue screen. It's also really light. And the UEFI is the same thing. You can do these controls and much more of them, but you have a GUI, you can use your mouse and not only your keyboard, and it's more comfortable for our generation. It supports 128 partitions and up to 9.4 CB disk sizes. This is a really large amount of space. The mount points, a directory to access the data. It is a directory to access the data on a partition. every slash is a mount point. For example, and we say mount something over existing, and we can also mount something over existing data. For example, we can use the command mount and then dev devices, and so we just choose the disk we want to mount, and after that a space and where we want to mount it. For example, if I use the slash home, then I mount it on my home directory, and you will not be able to see those data of yours. If I have here now, I am at my home directory, and these are the data that I have here. If I mount something on this home directory, I won't be able to see any of this data until I unmount it. The moment I use the command unmount home and I press enter, then I will be able to see again these things here. You can imagine it as something that sits on something else. The moment, or the time if you want better, that it sits on the other thing, you will not be able to see it. You will only be able to see the thing that you have mounted. And the moment it stands up and goes away, you will be able to see these old things again. The command to create partitions is the fdisk command. You just type the fdisk and then the disk that you want to from which you want to create the partitions. Then you will ask me, how can I see the disks of my system? I already told you at the start of this video. Just press the F and then the +H for the human readable form, and you can see them here. On the next video that I will create, I will show you how can you create some more disks in your virtual machine, and then we will create some partitions together. For example, here a partition that I can manipulate is inside the directory devices, and it is the SDA1. Its available space is 38 GB, and the way to manipulate that would be the following: fdisk and then /dev SDA1. Permission denied. Then you need to be sudo to do it. And as you can see, I'm inside this fdisk tool, and if I press M, I can see all available commands that I can use here to create a partition. But as I said, we will do it on our next lesson. If you have any questions, feel free to ask them in the comment section below or send me a message. Thank you all for watching.